relations, and my subject is Pakistani perspective on Pakistan-US relations. The first thing that is quite irritating for the people of Pakistan as well as for the government is America's tilt towards India. You know very well that Pakistan and India are hostile countries. While Pakistan has sacrificed so much, has assisted the United States so much during the Cold War, as Carl you just mentioned, as well as in the post 9/11 era, Pakistan was running from pillar to post to assist the United States to curb terrorism, not only in this region, but also in all those countries which could have been the launching pad for terrorists against United States land. Pakistan was right there. But with all this support and becoming so close friend of United States in the past as well as in the present, American tilt towards India was quite irritating for Pakistan. It was quite disturbing for Pakistan. And the reason was that a superpower of the time, a great country of the time like United States, if it is getting so close to India, this is in fact disturbing the strategic balance in South Asia. We know this very well that when a greater country gets closer to Pakistan, strategic balance gets disturbed, and if it is vice versa, of course, Pakistanis will not be at ease. So the first thing. Second very important thing is that somehow Pakistanis are quite and policymakers are not happy with looking at Pakistan through a third country rather than having a bilateral relationship between Pakistan and United States. Whenever Pakistan is looked from United States, either they look to Pakistan through Indian prism or it is through Afghanistan prism. Somehow Americans have yet to develop a bilateral relations with the country. There are certain things because of which Americans feel forced to come close to Pakistan. I said that they are quite worried about Pakistan's relations with India because they are getting so close to India. So they force Pakistan to normalize relations with India, whereas you know that we feel existential threat from India, and therefore things are quite different from Pakistani perspective. So is the case with Afghanistan. When in 1979 American forces, Soviet forces entered in Afghanistan, it was Americans who really wanted to teach Soviet forces a lesson, and they wanted to make Afghanistan a graveyard of Soviet forces, and therefore they were badly in need of Pakistan, and Pakistan was there in the forefront to assist them and to help them. So Pakistan was in need of United States for Afghanistan. Later on, when Cold War, when post 9/11 era takes place, once again they come over, and for Afghanistan they are getting so close to Pakistan. And then once again, right now, when they are in need of Pakistan for peace process, not only between Taliban and United States, but also between Taliban and Afghan factions, once again they are in need of Pakistan, and they are coming over to Pakistan again and again. This prism phenomenon that is taking place between United States and Pakistan is not liked by Pakistanis. They believe that this Indian prism and Afghan prism should be removed. There should be bilateral relations between Pakistan and United States. The third very important thing that I would like to speak about at this forum is that there is no support to democracy in the country, in Pakistan. I know that I am giving a very big statement, but I mean it really. Rather than it was used as this country was used as a rental commodity for United States' own interests. I just mentioned two things in the beginning, that they are coming over. If they are in need of Pakistan during the Cold War against Soviet Union, they come over, they use it, they come over, they develop ties with Pakistan. When in the post 9/11 era, they are in need of Pakistan for terrorists, curbing terrorists, they are there and they use Pakistan. But whatever the regime is there, they are quite fine with them. They do not say this thing that your country is governed by a dictatorial regime or military regime. They always are concerned with their own interests. They do not see inside Pakistan if it deserves and if its people need democratic values and democratic government. So in terms of the process, what happens that Pakistanis realize that Americans like dictators in Pakistan more than democracies, and right with that, when there is a democracy in Pakistan, somehow Americans' financial assistance to that democratic government is extremely less. We have in our mind era of Ayub Khan during 1950s and 60s when he was supported a lot, showered with millions of dollars, and afterwards Bhutto's era in which nothing was there, relations were very bad. General Zia comes over, once again dictatorship, Americans are so close to him, and afterwards Muhtarama Benazir Bhutto, Nawaz Sharif's 2 terms, and all these governments are there and very bad relations with them. And then once again General Musharraf comes over, and once again Americans are so close to him, billions of dollars are showered upon him. But when it comes to later on governments like People's Party, or for that matter, Muslim League, once again Nawaz Sharif, and today Imran Khan, relations are so bad, and we feel that Americans, they support dictatorship in Pakistan, and this has harmed, damaged, and strangulated democratic currents and trends in this country. The fourth point that I would really like to ponder upon and to give you Pakistani perspective is that of Islamic terrorism. Terrorism cannot be Islamic, or it cannot be based on any ideology, basically. It's an act of an individual or group of people who may belong to one religion. But this doesn't mean that religion is responsible for terrorist act. In the past, terrorism was carried out, terrorism or independence movement was carried out for the creation of Israel, and nobody talked about Jewish terrorism. If that is the case, which we have really blurred between a freedom fighter and a terrorist, I believe that when Americans were fighting against British for their liberation, no one talked about Christian terrorists at that very time, because predominantly those who were fighting against British, they were Christians, and nobody talked anything otherwise vis-a-vis them. So this means that religion should not be associated with terrorism. Pakistanis feel that Islamic terrorism, Islamic extremism is a very negative connotation. They think that this is something biased. Pakistanis feel that if that is the case, then South Sudan recently has taken independence and nobody talked about their religious terrorism. East Timor got independence and nobody talked about their religious terrorism. Somehow that is once again a point that we feel that is a disagreement between the two. Carl has talked about war on terror. This was something really amazing. Two countries, Pakistan and United States, they were very close to each other in fighting against terror. Somehow Pakistanis are not coming out of this notion that war on terror was and is an American war. People like me tried our levels best to convince them that this is not in fact an American war, it is a global war, and we are fighting against extremists, we are fighting against terrorists. And these extremists and terrorists are not only harmful and damaging to the United States, but they are damaging and harmful even to ourselves. And today, when we are conducting this webinar, everybody knows this thing that Pakistan has also been very badly affected by terrorist acts and extremists. And we also have failed to convince people that this war initiated not by United States, but through the United Nations resolutions. And as Pakistan was part and parcel of United Nations, Pakistan had to comply with it. Pakistan had to get close to all those countries who were fighting against terrorism. That is once again something that we have to speak to when it comes to perspectives of Pakistanis vis-a-vis Pakistan-US relations. They think that war on terror is American war. My next point is that there is now a very strong surge of civil society in Pakistan. The prevailing view within this civil society is that United States is a self-centered, arrogant, and expedient partner of Pakistan, which ultimately harms its interests. They say that undemocratic forces are supported in this country by United States, as a moment back I spoke. And they also say that this inflicts damage when Americans support undemocratic forces in our country. It is stated, and this strong civil society states that this inflicts a long-term damage to Pakistan's economy, to politics, and to its entire social fabric. This civil society's emergence and with these comments is also a very strange view that we witness in today's Pakistan. Let me say this once again that I just spoke about tilt towards India. And my next point is a bit linked with that. And that is that we have to understand, and everybody knows this thing, and this is broad daylight fact that America is a great power. It is, I mean, if it is not a superpower, as stated by certain scholars of international relations, America is a great power, rather a greater power. But when it comes to dealing with India, extremism in India by the ruling BJP at the moment, we know this very well. This is something, it's no secret. Killing of minorities there, which is once again a blatant exposure of the facts. Revoking of Article 370A of Indian held Kashmir. And of course, this had completely shaken the issue of Kashmir. And then catching of India's present serving Navy naval officer, spy Kulbhushan Yadav. We see that United States' response in this regard is very mild, and it is very friendly towards India, and they're not even speaking about it. I know that we should not expect a lot from United States, but at the same time, this entire region deserves peace. And if it deserves peace, there must be an even-handed policy. If somebody is really playing havoc with its minorities, if Kashmir issue is very badly affected, and if spies are caught and they are accepting that whatever there is the role of that espionage system led by Kulbhushan Yadav was to disturb Pakistan's one province, that was Balochistan. I think that this is the high time that we expect and anticipate greater power of the world to come and play a very active role and really give a snub to that country that is not complying with international law and that is trying to destabilize Pakistan. American closer ties with India encourage it to go further in executing its fascist policies. That is what we want, that someone must be there to take an unbiased stand in this regard. There is another very important point that I must mention here. People in Pakistan think that American aid is an opium for Pakistanis. They think that it doesn't contribute to any positive change in the country or in the destiny of the nation. Rather, it makes country more dependent forever, ever, and ever. We believe that this foreign aid phenomena by United States could have been converted into a trade. It could have been replaced by trade in the last 72 years, but this for better ties, for stronger ties, but this never happened. So people think that this American aid is opium for Pakistanis, and probably Americans want to keep Pakistan dependent on itself, and they are not replacing with trade. Because with trade, relations will be long-lasting. Pakistan will become more economically independent, and it will have more better ties rather than being used as a rental commodity, as I used earlier. Another point that I want to bring into the notice of my audience is that the Pakistani perspective is also that US aid is for filling the pockets of a few good men at the top and not to the nation. The aid lands in Islamabad and it is used as an official bribery. It goes into the pockets of a few. It's distributed amongst those who are in the hub of affairs, who carry out American agenda in Pakistan. So that's one of the big reasons that Americans have, right till now, since Pakistan's creation, they have given billions and billions of dollars, extensive financial assistance, and we do not find any change in the destiny of people. We do not witness that. So people also have this perspective. They think that American aid basically is to fill the pockets of few people who are in the hub of affairs, and this doesn't trickle down to the nation, and therefore this financial assistance has not contributed to the development of the nation. My 10th point that I would like to mention here is that American policy is a very fickle, Pakistanis think, and they say that it is quite ungrateful. They say that they support them during the. They say that they supported Soviet United States during the Cold War against Soviet Union. They supported during war on terror. They even are supporting Americans during a peace process in Afghanistan and numerous other places. But the moment this all is done, their objective is achieved, they forget Pakistan and they forget assisting it. So no help and no Pakistan the moment everything is done. Few examples are right there. Right now we have a very difficult situation with respect to FATF issue, and Americans are there who are not at all supporting Pakistan. Rather, they are putting more curbs on Pakistan. American policy on this forum is very hostile and very anti-Pakistan. So we believe that as long as our support and help to Americans in their objectives are concerned, perfectly fine. But the moment things are done, they become very hostile to Pakistan. There is another very important point that two nations are, I believe, probably it is difficult to understand for both of them, or there is some issue, and that is this is the era of regionalism. This is the era of regionalism, therefore every country has to have very cordial, very comfortable, very docile, very friendly relations with its neighboring countries. So Pakistan is trying its level best to have friendly relations with Afghanistan, with China, with Iran, with India. I have already spoken about it. But with China, with Iran, with Afghanistan, Pakistan is trying its level best. But somehow, if Pakistan is developing cordial relations with Iran, which is its neighboring country, and due to regionalism, Pakistan has to have very good relations with its neighboring countries, there is pressure from the United States not to develop such relations with its neighbors, which means that there was one pipeline project, IPI, Iran, Pakistan, and India gas pipeline. Because of American pressure, India withdrew from this pipeline, and now it is IP, and now more pressure is on Pakistan that Pakistan should also withdraw from this gas pipeline so that Iran may be damaged. However, they do not understand that Pakistan is situated in the neighborhood of Iran, and Pakistan has to have normal and cordial relations with Iran. So is the case with this CPAC. It's again a very big example. Pakistan is a neighboring country of China, and Pakistan has to have a very friendly relations in the neighborhood. Chairman Mao stated, as I am speaking about China, he stated that a fish can swim only in a friendly sea. So this region is friendly, and we have to have very friendly relations with the neighboring countries. Somehow that is something not understandable to both countries, how they will move on as far as regionalism is concerned. My last point that I would like to speak about is that relations with the people and not with the government only is the need of the time. We believe that Americans are having very superficial, very top-line relations between the two governments. They are taking place, but they are not having direct relations with the people. People do not feel that relationship that Americans want to have with and that's the reason that we believe that it is quite superficial. It is quite on the top of it, and it is not penetrating into the society. Neither enlightened nor extremists, Pakistanis are Pakistanis. They are not with any group association, to which Pakistanis are normally tagged. They are not enlightened, they are not moderate, they are not extremists, they are not religious. Pakistanis are Pakistanis, as is normally the case with every nation. Of course, there would be many people who would be religious, and there would be many people who would be liberals, but chunk amount is what the nation is, and that is called Pakistani. As we say, Americans are just Americans. We do not say that Americans are divided amongst themselves. This religious extremism is situated in every country, in any shape. Once upon a time, Ku Klux Klan was there, and the entire Middle East is filled with these kind of extremists. But for that, Americans need to engage them, these extremists, to explain themselves about itself, and let them explain themselves. I mean, this engagement of extremists is also very important. But remember this thing that this has nothing to do with Pakistan. It's just a suggestion that I'm giving. But if they would like to engage with extremists, that would be something wonderful, and direct engagement would be amazing. Just imagine, a few days back, Taliban were also extremists, they were also terrorists. But in the last couple of years, they engaged with each other. And see, this year's February month 29, there was a wonderful peace agreement between the Taliban, those who were in the past extremists, and United States. It may be United States policy and a suggestion from our side that this engagement should continue, and this engagement I am suggesting for the entire Muslim world. Ladies and gentlemen, support to democracy, balance, a balanced foreign policy towards South Asia, and support to people of the land against extremism and extreme liberals will make the United States a natural ally of Pakistanis and Pakistan, as was the case between Pakistan and United States in 1950s and 60s. Thank you so much, and I sign out.